We're 4% of the world's population and 25% of the world's resource consumption in the United States. We're 4% of the world's population and we're 25% of the world's prison population. That's not a coincidence, it's a consequence. We require militarism at every scale of governance. We might think we live in a democracy, but that's the icing on the brick. It doesn't matter how pretty that looks, it's still a brick. You can't call it a cake. So it's important to remember that that is at the heart of governing such an economy. What is an extractive economy and why will it ultimately fail? So, folks familiar with the Lorax? So, if your economy is based on selling thneeds, and you chop down the truffula trees faster than they can grow back, your economy will collapse, right? Your economy will collapse. If you chop down the trees faster than they grow back, your economy will collapse. Now you can use the money you get from selling thneeds to insulate yourself from the impacts of the collapsing economy while the brown barbaloots flee and the swoomy swans get crummies in their tummies. But in the end, your economy will collapse. You will just be some old dude in a decrepit building telling sad stories. This is really the existential crisis of capitalism, thank goodness on one hand. And on the other hand, it represents a serious challenge for us. Because when empires crumble, they do not evaporate and leave democracy in their midst. They crumble and they leave feudalism in their wake. And it is our job to compost the system, to harvest the energy out of it as we drive its end. And to do that, we need to create a new center of gravity in the economy that is about workers. We have traditionally thought of transitioning the oil industry as like, we need to find jobs in a different sector for oil workers, which is true. But we actually have a very limited amount of fossil fuels we can burn, and we have a lot of things we need to do with that. For example, the millions of oil wells around this planet that need to get capped are not going to get capped with compost. We need fossil energy to elegantly back our way out of this crisis, and we have to take that fossil budget and stretch it over a very long period of time and intentionally use it. So before we transition those workers out of those industries, we need to put those workers in charge of those industries.